Hey folks, welcome to this channel. My name is Jason DeCristofaro and I'm thrilled you can be here. I'm here with a legend, Dr. Sam Waymon. He is an Academy Award-winning nominated songwriter, a film composer, an actor, an activist. He was Nina Simone's brother and a musical director for over 25 years. And he's got a new album coming out. And there's two tracks that there's one track out right now, Hell No Jim Crow, which is a great song. You should check it out. That's available on all streaming platforms and Amazon and all that. And pretty soon he's going to have another track from that album out, Baby Eye. And the whole album, which is called Purpose, is going to be out around April. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about the album, what it means to you, and sort of the process?
Well, thank you. The title of the album is Purpose. And so it's from a personal experience. And that is, what is my purpose? What is one's purpose in life? What is one's purpose, period? How do you see yourself? What do you want from yourself? Are you the full embodiment of yourself? And I thought that, okay, how can I come up with a title that's not complicated? So I came up with Purpose. I said, oh, it's a one-word title, easy to remember, but I think everyone can relate to it.
Yeah.
Because the word purpose is used in everyday conversation. And that's why I did that. I just wanted very much to inspire people somehow or another, that they can maybe look into themselves, can question themselves, and to find out where their vision lies. You know, what is it that they dream about? What is it that they want? What is my purpose? And if you have a purpose, then you have a direction. If you have a purpose, you have someplace to channel your energy, to channel your psyche, to channel your being, your well-being. It's all encompassing. I don't want to get too complicated with it, but to me, purpose is a very simple word.
Simple but powerful.
Powerful. Yeah, thank you. And that's what I wanted. Yeah. I wanted to inspire and motivate people. It's an all-encompassing word.
Yeah.
My purpose is because I've been on, I'm a new kid on the block, so to speak. So I said, all right, I have lived. I'm still alive. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And everyone has a legacy. My purpose is to carry on my legacy, my family name, generational. That's pretty much it. Historically, I have a lot of history. I've lived through a lot. I've seen a lot. I have gained a great deal of knowledge from my forebears, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, my father, my mom. Those things are important. And to me, that's what purpose is. That's my purpose is to carry on the hand-me-down knowledge that has been given to me from my older brothers and sisters, all of those who have lived before me. I don't care how many years it goes back, how many hundred years it goes back. I should, I will, and I always will respect them, that. That's my purpose. And I'm proud of that.
Well, and I mean, you should be. You come from an incredible family of accomplished individuals. I think a lot of people know, of course, about your sister Nina Simone, but we were talking about other members of your family and the things they did. We were talking about how you were one of many siblings who played piano.
Yes. Well, yeah. Let me talk about that because there were eight brothers and sisters, all of us total. An interesting thing that all eight of us could play and sing piano, including my mom, including my father. Now, just for the audience to understand, my father was born in 1898, which means I'm only one generation away from slavery because my grandfather was a slave.
Yeah.
My mother was born in 1901. 4 brothers, 4 sisters. My father was a honky-tonk piano player.
Yeah.
My mother was a vaudeville dancer before she became a minister. I mean, we had a happy, good, shouting family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because when Christmas came, when Thanksgiving came, when family reunion came around, we always used to joke around who's going to play the piano,
Yeah.
who's going to sing, and it was a happy, good time.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You're telling a story earlier about the different styles that each person in the family kind of
Yes.
had, you know. What styles did you lean towards when you were first learning piano? When you were growing up, what were some of the styles of music you liked to play and liked to listen to?
Well, let's see. Well, I started playing when I was 3, as was Eunice, Nina Simone, or I call her Eunice. Sometimes in this conversation, I'm going to go in and out between Eunice and Nina. So, okay. I was classically trained by Mrs. Mazinovich, as most people know, the same person who taught Nina. But later on, I loved good old R&B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love R&B. I love blues.
Yeah.
I love gospel music. I love modern music, contemporary music.
Yeah.
I think my classical training, I know that my classical training was the basis and the platform for me to expand and to broaden my scope musically as far as being a piano player. I found out early on that I could compose and I could write. And so I started writing music. I started composing music. Interestingly enough, I find composing which is a lot more challenging than, like, say, songwriting.
What for you? What is the difference between songwriting and composing in your mind?
Good question. Composing is you have to put on you have to rewire your brain slightly to compose because you're writing music for action. You're writing music for the spoken word. You're writing music for conversations like you and I have.
Yeah, yeah.
You're writing music that not necessarily is connected to a particular, like a love triangle or a love or pain or sorrow, not in words, but in composition, which means it's a different form of expanding your mind to listen to music. One of the things that I found interesting enough, when I wrote the music to Ganja and Hess, that was my first major score.
And it was also you acted in that movie as well.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
With Dwayne Jones and Carol Cole, Nat King Cole's daughter, and Dwayne Jones from The Night of the Living Dead. Oh God, that scared me. That was the scariest movie for me. But I was 22, 23 when I wrote that. When Bill Gunn asked me to write the score, it was a challenge. I didn't know if I could or not.
Why do you say that?
First of all, I'd never written a score before. I was brought up every day that Bill wrote it. I was very familiar with the script.
Yeah.
I was on the set every day. But reading the script inspired music in my head. And what it did was dialogue inspired musical notes. My first inclination, my first job was working for Joe Pappin in New York Shakespeare Festival. And I realized I had a knack for the spoken word, translating it into musical words. I found that connection and I said, perfect.
That was sort of the light bulb moment.
Big time. A whole nuclear bomb went off in my head. It was amazing. I had the ability to connect tones, sequences, cadences, notes to the word, the voice. Because to me, when we talk, we're talking the tone of our voice. You can go to the piano and find it. I have a friend, every time he sneezes, I can go to the piano. I can tell them that's in B flat.
Yeah,
or
it's
A
a
or
frequency.
C.
It's a frequency.
It's a frequency. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I realized that. Oh, okay. I can underscore dialogue
Yeah.
between people through music. I found that quite exciting and quite challenging.
Well, it's so cool because you had two different perspectives because you were somebody who was acting on the set of movies. So you
Yeah.
had a role as an actor. So you kind of had that perspective, but you also had this perspective as the composer. I think that's a pretty rare thing. How many people can say, yes, I'm, thinking about the lines I
Yeah.
delivered on camera while I'm writing the score.
Well, the thing that most people don't realize is that we talk in rhythm,
Mm.
we walk in rhythm, we make love in rhythm. Every day we get up, everything we do has a cadence to it. You don't think of it because it's natural. We just do it automatically. But for a musician, for a composer, I have to interpret those movements into musical terms, musical definitions. So if you come to me and say, I want you to write underscore a conversation between two people at a table, I have to listen.
Right.
And that's the key to the whole thing, is being able to hear the conversation, the dialogue, the tonality of the dialogue, the frequency of the dialogue, the cadence of the dialogue, as I said. And you translate all of that musically for people like us, because you're a musician, is amazing. It's a challenge. It's beautiful to me because it opens up a whole new avenue of possibilities. Songwriting, because you asked the question, the difference between songwriting and composing. Composing is limitless. It's just total wide open space of where you can go on the keyboard. I say the keyboard because that's where everything starts from. I had no restrictions in composing. Wherever my imagination took me, based on the scene, if the director says to me, okay, I have a concept as what kind of music I want under this particular scene.
Yeah.
But that person may say, but I'm going to leave it up to you. I love that when they give me that kind of freedom and carte blanche.
Right.
Because that means they're trusting me, and there's trust between myself and the director or the writer. When I was given the green light for Ganja Hess, for example, to write the music, he didn't tell me what to write. Bill Gunn was the director and the writer. He did not tell me what to write. He said, you're the writer, you're the composer.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel, however you conceive that, however you perceive that, it will probably be right, because he trusted my instinct. And I knew the story. It was complicated, it was complex, but it was possible. It wasn't something that I couldn't conquer.
Yeah.
I love the challenge. I love to see how much. I wanted to see how much knowledge that I thought I knew that I didn't have. I realized that I really didn't know anything. That I had a whole valley of possibilities with my creativity, and I loved that. And everything that I did with that music worked. I think it worked because I was really plugged into the dialogue.
Right, from the acting perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is one of many things that you've scored. I mean, you're Academy Award nominee for music you wrote for Philadelphia.
Yes.
I think 1992, 93, I forget the
Yeah.
exact year.
It's in Your Eyes, I wrote. Yes, the song called It's in Your Eyes.
So how did that come about?
Oh, I have a partner named Lorana Walker. He was a best friend, and he's ex-policeman, but he was a writer. And we wrote a song called It's in Your Eyes, the music and the lyrics. It was on an album that was coming out that Ron and I had put out. And Jonathan Demme heard it. And Jonathan Demme and I were friends up in Rock. I don't want to name the town. Well, Nyack, New York. I can say that.
Yeah.
And he heard it. And he said, Sam, that's perfect for a movie that I've written, that I'm directing. A movie called Philadelphia. He listened to it. He let Denzel Washington listen to it. Let Denzel's wife listen to it, Coretta. They loved it. Jonathan said, I want that song.
Yeah.
But it was already on an album. I said, Jonathan, okay. If you want he said, well, Sam, you have a choice. Either you can leave it on your album or you can give it to me for this movie. Well, I think any fool, a reasonable person would say, you can have it, Jonathan, for the movie. And I said, but you got to pay for it to get it off the master because I've already mastered it. So he did. So the idea is that he wanted to, when he chose the song, he did come and ask me, do you think it's right for my movie? And I said, well, you're the director, Jonathan. If you think it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
But he wanted my permission.
I like that, though, that there's that dialogue happening between the filmmaker and the composer. And it's interesting because he had this vision of hearing the song. He's like, that's the song. That
Yes.
fits perfectly into his vision. Did you watch the movie and hear the song in the context of the film? And what was your impression of the context?
I thought it worked.
Yeah.
I did. I thought it worked. When he, now, It's in Your Eyes is a beautiful romantic song. It's a very soulful blues. It's not a blues, but it's a ballad. It's a love song. And when he played it against the dialogue of the film, he waited to see my reaction. He was on pins and needles because he wanted my approval of it. I thought it worked. With Tom Hanks and Denzel, it worked.
Yeah.
I didn't change it. I had recorded it, but Denzel's wife, Carletta, I think it's her name, Pauletta. I'm sorry, Denzel's Pauletta, sang it in the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's very movie-like. It's big with voices and strings and lush.
Cinematic.
Very cinematic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I like that interpretation of our song, and it was nominated along with there was Indigo Girls and what's his name on the soundtrack. I was honored. I was totally honored by that. That's how that happened.
That's amazing. Well, and so there's several things we could talk about in your career. I think another experience that's a very poignant and I think important one, not just for you personally, but for, I'd say, all people. You sang at Dr. King's funeral.
Yes.
Yeah, can you share a little bit about that experience?
Well, I guess as any experience could be when you're singing at a funeral. I'm not trying to be arrogant or a smart bug here. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
Because remember, I had gone to jail with Martin Luther King in Philadelphia when we had the march on for the black postal workers that had a strike in Philadelphia. And there was, we were going to shut it down if the black postal workers were not given equal pay that they felt they deserved, whereas the white postal workers that were hired were given raises who had just been hired, whereas those black workers who had been in there all those years did not get the raises. So they threatened to shut the city down, and they did. And there was a protest, there was a march. It was emotional, but I was honored, as one can imagine, to have participated in that funeral service. To this day, it's still emotional for me when I think about it, a lot of it, but that's what I do. That's what I was destined to do. Again, a purpose.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I look back on retrospect, I said, you know what? You trying to put all the dots together in your life. Oh, that's why that happened. Oh, that was meant to happen, or this was meant to happen. Because there's so many things about life that we don't understand that gets us through. And it isn't always about understanding it. It's about accepting it.
Mm.
I just accepted the fact that whatever it is that I was doing was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was meant to happen. And there's nothing in its place that was not meant to be there.
Yeah.
nothing is out of place. You know, I don't follow that philosophy with something. Oh, that's out of, no. Nothing is where it's supposed to be if it was not meant to be there. How else could it be there?
It has a meaning. It has a function. It has.
I don't know how it could be otherwise.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, metaphorically, nothing exists without a purpose. Just in my mind, that's me talking. Maybe everybody else doesn't think that way, but I know that I have been given a gift musically. My mother told me I had a gift when I was 3 years old. I believed every word she told me. All I knew is that I could play. I can go up to the piano and start doing something on the keyboard. The next thing I know, I'm taking lessons from Mrs. Massey. And Nina was the other person who did it. So out of 8 children, Nina Simone, to me, Eunice Waymon, and Nina Simone, okay? We had the same teacher.
Yeah. And for folks who might not know, Mrs. Massey was sort of a local celebrity in Tryon.
Yes, a German teacher, yes.
Yeah.
And she taught a lot of people in Tryon, in North Carolina. But Nina and I guess, were her 2 most public people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. I do want to clear something because I don't want, I was with Nina for 25 years, but now for 25 years, I was not her manager for 25 years. I was her organist, her confidant, and her friend for part of those years. Then I became her manager.
Gotcha.
Okay? And because I don't want to disrespect.
Sure.
I just want to clarify that.
Well, so you had all these different roles, and I think it goes back to what you're saying about earlier, just that trust, that level of trust, whether it's working in an artistic collaboration like the directors you worked with,
yes,
or somebody that you marched with and were an activist with. And with your sister, it's family.
She was blood, that's right.
Yeah.
And I did everything I possibly could to protect my sister. As a brother should.
Yeah.
I did that. I did it the best I could. And she trusted no one. I don't blame her for that. She trusted me. I trusted her. I think the reason why Eunice and I joined at the hip was because I was family. And she didn't have family around her in the beginning, blood, her siblings that is, in her career. And she wanted me to join her.
Yeah.
And I did. I think it was 1961.
Because you were living in another town at the time, and she called you up and invited
I was living
you.
in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And she called me up and said, I want to take you out to lunch. This was like at 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, okay. So she rented a helicopter from New York.
Oh, wow.
Okay. She rented a helicopter like $500 an hour. And I'm talking to her at 9 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock she was,
From New York to Philly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And next thing I know, I'm in this limousine and she pulls up and she says, okay, let's go out to lunch. So she said, the reason that I came down here to see you is because how would you feel of playing with me and performing with me and you and I being together? I don't have any family with me. You had the same teacher that I did. She went through that whole thing. You and I can relate. You're the only one of my siblings who understands show business.
Mm.
You understand the craziness that creativity causes. And I said to her, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Now, remember, I was in Philadelphia. I was welding. I was a welder. I was also a graduate of a business college in Philadelphia. I was also playing for churches. I was playing for doo-wop groups.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about that at one point. Doo-wop's like one of your original.
Oh, man, give me the doo-wop. Shoo-doo, shoo-be-doo.
Yeah.
Okay, give me that anytime. And I thought about it overnight.
Yeah.
I called her the next day. I said, okay, you got me. She said, great.
And that was 25 years from that point.
Listen to me. My first gig with my sister was at the Village Gate,
Oh,
the
wow.
famous Village Gate in
Yeah.
New York. I did Luke off the Village Gate. The rest is history. I played tambourines, congas,
Yeah.
and toys, shakers, quakers, and that's when I first met Odetta,
Oh, wow.
Miriam Makeba,
Oh, wow.
Hugh Masekela,
Wow.
Miles Davis, all in that first week. It was sold out for a week. Next thing I know, we sold out the second week. The second week is when I got the Hammond organ.
I see. Which we've talked about how much fun that is. As an
Oh,
instrument to move.
let me
Yeah.
tell you, folks, that's a humdinger of an instrument.
Yeah.
Yes. I got the Hammond B3. To all of you who want to know what a Hammond B, we called it the Beast. That's what we called it back in the day. With the foot pedals and everything. Yeah, that was wild.
Great way to get a hernia. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so it's interesting. So you started as a percussionist and then moved to organ.
Yes.
And then, as you mentioned, you moved from this position as, obviously you were always family. You were that person she could trust in and count on. But then you moved into these other roles with Nina where you became her musical director, and where you were also co-writing some of her songs, and you produced one of her albums, the Here Comes the Sun album.
Here Comes the Sun album.
Yeah. So when did that shift happen, and what was that like, that experience, to be doing those things with Nina?
It was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was challenging. It was spiritually, it was redeemable, it was redemption, it was salvation. It was all encompassing of spirituality, in the sense that trust. She trusted me. She trusted me with my interpretation of her art, of her ability, of her. Because one of the things that is a problem for a lot of artists is the producer. Can you trust a producer to understand you, to understand what your art is about, the craziness that goes on in your head, the uncertainty and the fear and the paranoia and all of that goes into songwriting, or goes into you existing within yourself, because you have to step out of yourself sometimes to understand what you're not, as opposed to what you are. I tried to surround her with all the things that she needed to feel good as an artist, as a pianist.
To support her. Yeah.
I had to.
Yeah.
How else could I get the best out of her?
Yeah.
How can anybody get the best of anyone if they have to be comfortable? They have to be in their comfort zone. We had fun, and we also lived together, so we practiced together.
Yeah.
And therefore I understood all of those little nuances, all those the dichotomy of her greatness and her insanity and her not understanding.
Yeah.
All that stuff you have to be able to translate musically, and she trusted me with that.
Well, we've had stories about that, because you weren't just seeing the finished product at the end of the day that everybody else was seeing. You were seeing the process of what she was doing as an artist.
That's the part, yes. And remember, I had my own growth to deal with. I had to say that because if I was sitting downstairs playing the piano, practicing, the interesting story is I was sitting at the piano practicing one day. I'm playing R&B music.
Yeah.
Okay. And after I finished practicing, I hear this hand clap. She had been sitting on the steps behind me. I didn't know it. So when I finished, she clapped. She came over and she sat down to me, next to me, and she said, "Boy, you can really play." And I looked at her, I said, "Are you kidding me? You can play." She said, No. I want to play like you. What she meant was she wanted to play the R&B kinds of chords that I was playing. And I said to her, "Okay, you want to play like me? Let's make a deal. I want to play like you."
Ah.
Because I think I think my sister is one of the greatest pianists in the world.
As a pianist, I agree 100% with
Oh,
that.
I
Beautiful
do.
player, beautiful sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said, and she laughed. And so we ended up playing. She's playing on the high part of the piano scale. I'm playing on the lower part. And we started playing the doo-wop, shoo-doo-be-doo-be-doo kind of songs. When I wrote It Bees That Way Sometime, and she recorded that. So did Mongo Santa Maria, so did Montego Joe, you know.
Yeah.
She loved it. She said, "Can I sing that song?" Yeah. She loved that kind of R&B thing. She had the ability, of course she was a classically trained, but she wanted more.
Yeah.
And that's evident in her records. She wanted more, and she utilized the different styles to make her. She incorporated the classical training into the modern music, which is what we do. That's how we got into It Bees That Way Sometime and some other songs.
Well, you and Nina you both have this amazing ability with your music and when you're hearing her music to seamlessly transition between styles, but not make it feel like a novelty thing. Like, oh, we're trying out this one thing for this one song.
No.
It always feels deep and honest with your music and her music. And I think that's incredible because that's a hard thing because you have to spend time with, it's like a language, learning a musical genre or a musical style.
Yes.
When you're in the process of, let's say, writing a song, are there, you mentioned R&B and doo-wop as being things that you love in gospel and blues. Are there particular styles or artists or sounds that you particularly like or that really influence you?
I love Tibetan music.
Yeah, yeah.
I love chorales.
Yeah.
I love. I don't think there's any music that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, I speak a little Swahili. I speak Swahili.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, yeah.
And I love African music. I love Afro-Cuban music. Ooh, it's so emotional and romantic and sensual. I love bossa nova.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Latin music. I love it all. Anything that makes me feel, period,
Yeah.
needs my respect. And I love it. And I understand and I listen to it. If I can extract from other styles something that I can relate to, I do. And I incorporate it into my music. That's my forte. That's my calling.
That's your purpose.
It's my
That's your purpose.
my
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
That's wonderful. We're going to take a short break
Okay.
here. Sam, thank you so much. We'll be back with a second episode. You can find the link to that in the description box below. Sam, thank you so much. Looking
You're
forward to
welcome.
our next conversation.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.